Hello everyone. I'm recording this because it's been a while that I haven't said anything on YouTube. I have a few things that I want to clarify and a few things that I want to project for the future of English teaching as a job that many people have been seeking, but also some insights on industry and where to go from this multifaceted environment of learning and media transformation and conversation transformation. I think that's the most important thing. I talk a lot about uh, conversation on my blog. Conversation in the form of apps that people use to maintain contact with their close ones or with strangers. And I am a kind of person that more or less incentivizes contact with people that you don't know. I have a lot of opinions about that and experiences also. I think I was just thinking, and the dating industry is probably, if not the most profitable, at least the most popular industry in the mindsets of people and in their daily use. And nobody really has well-formed opinions about what this represents. What this represents is a revolution and uh, an undeniable change in the way that people interact. But we don't see this in a global scale. Now, teaching English as a common language, and I think maybe people should start saying that instead of a second language, teaching English as a common language has to look at certain aspects of digital life, because if we don't, we're being anachronic. It's a pretty word that people say when you're outdated, when your solution is not effective anymore. So to ask people to study phonology, morphology, grammar, syntax, and all these things, vocabulary aspects and language in use, that's all valid, but what people really want to know is, how am I going to interact with someone and establish meaningful relationships? That's what people want to know. And do I have the answer for that? Sometimes, as today, I wake up and I realize I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. And my question to myself today is, what about dating apps? You're not dating anyone. You're not looking for that in your interactions with apps. You're looking for people to talk to. You're looking for people who share the same interests and you want to stay closer to them. But some funny things happen when you start using a platform and the platform makes a register of your use. And depending on who you talk to, you don't know if in these apps where you meet new people, if you're going to find people who are pretending to be who they are not. And if, let's say, you add them, the platform makes a register that your context list is suspicious. And from that, they make an assessment of your account. And maybe you don't know that, but the person you added tried to log into your account. And then you receive a message on Snapchat, for example. After many succeeded attempts of logging in your account, we noticed unusual activity, so you're temporarily disabled. Your account is temporarily disabled. What are the other options? Because Snapchat is just one thing. We have Instagram. Instagram is a place where you can find a lot of people through Explore. It used to be through hashtags, but hashtags are not working anymore. And suggestions. But these are artificial intelligence mechanisms. Now, the role that artificial intelligence has to play in connecting the world is what we should be talking about. If you go on Twitter, you're gonna find a lot of people, sure, but you're gonna find a lot of organizations and government agencies and media channels that have their profiles and they're gonna be recommended to you, but you're not gonna find people. And you wanna find people, you wanna maintain contact with people, real people. And where are these mechanisms and why are they not being facilitated to provide the best experience for people to connect and speak common English, a common language that is English? If you see somebody retweeting something and you want to follow that person because you think what they said is interesting, are you going to establish a long-term contact with them? That should be our goal, to meet as many interesting people as we can and maintain with them good relationships. That's absolutely healthy. So my advice to students would be go on Twitter and try to find some people, not the media channels. The media channels are important, sure. You can find a journalist that you like and start following them, but you're going to be bombarded with news and that's not good for your mental health. I could say studies have shown, but there's no studies except my own experience that I know of. But I can say according to my experience, that damages your mental health. Where are the people? Where are the people on social media? The people we want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the apps like Bumble, for example. You're not going to make friends on Bumble. You want to date, there's a specific thing there. Use Bumble to date what you're looking for, how you're going to get along with me. It's a mechanized process. And yet people don't match because the artificial intelligence is not making these people find each other. The artificial intelligence is making people spend more time on the app. And to spend more time on the app, you got to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, swiping left and right, left and right, left and right, but not finding the right people. That is not something that is in their interest. And I find it funny that right after I publish a story that talks about this and tries to connect with, for example, the question of third-party apps, Snapchat has people meeting third-party app, more than one, that has many security flaws, but they ask for access of all of your Snapchat data, and you give them access, but the app is not secure. And nobody's doing anything about that. It's from crypto scams to, you know, adult content being sold, but actually also being a scam. And, you know, the issue with minors and groups and screenshots and things that happen within the app that we don't have, absolutely do not have control of. And the system of suggestions on Snapchat, the quick ad, there's a lot of things that we need to discuss, and nobody's interested in discussing. Nobody's interested. And on Instagram, you can find a lot of people who are suggestions from the platform, but who are these people? And who's gonna spend time? The cell phone today has a battery. If we're on our laptops, at least we're plugged in, but the cell phone has a battery. We don't have the time. The battery dies. The battery dies. My phone is on now, but the battery dies. We don't have the average person spends 5 to 6 hours on the phone every single day. Sometimes we don't charge our batteries when we go to sleep every night. Sometimes we forget about it. We wake up, there's 2% battery. We're not going to look at the phone. So we don't have the time to spend on Instagram. And when we go on our laptops, a lot of people use school laptops and social media, for example, is disabled. What are we going to do to use the internet? That's another thing. EFF, for example, raised this issue of there's a name for that. It's not stalkerware, but it's a surveillance kind of thing. Everything that the student is doing, they're monitoring, and there are reports produced and stuff like that. And that's absolutely unethical, and they're denouncing that. But it goes beyond that, because every company, Snapchat is a company, and Meta, which took so many elements out of Snapchat, is a company that wants you to spend time on their platforms, but you're not making any money and you're not producing. What is the answer? Maybe if we produce content, but producing content is not going to get you paid. Yeah, it's good for society, sure. If you think this video is good for society, well, thank you very much. If you appreciate my debates and discussions and insights on technology and the real world of what real people use, what real people do with their phones, with their digital lives. Most people don't really think about it, but the thing is, let's suppose you have a company and you want to advertise your products. You're going to have to use these platforms, and these platforms have this sort of reward system where the more you use them, the more the best results you're going to get. And what if you don't want to use them? What if you want to advertise your product? How many artists do you know that follow 0 people on social media, but they have millions of followers? How many? There's a lot of people doing that. If I could just say that participatory fluency is not going to follow anyone, I'm just going to have my own voice. I'm going to share my ideas with people, but I'm not going to follow anyone. You know what they're doing? They're accusing me of stealing content simply because I'm reading headlines and then I'm putting my work on my blogs. And they think that's stealing content because I saw this elsewhere. It's another person's work. Here I am talking about something. Do you want a personal story? I could give you personal stories. I could talk about my relationships with people from Sweden, with people from the Netherlands, from the United States, the many cases I've had with people who I've talked to from the United States. And I could talk about the fact that I don't know their digital lives. That would be a huge discussion. I could go on, pull a thread on that, and talk about relationships and the fact that some people think that a long distance relationship, either if it's from a different country or a different state or whatever, in a long distance relationship, you don't know what the other side is doing on the internet, and the issues of trust. I think these are things to be discussed. I think these are things to be discussed in the classroom. I think, my personal opinion, I think these are things to be discussed in the classroom. Oh, but aren't parents prepared to do that? Aren't parents supposed to do that? Parents are not interested in doing that. That's the reality. Parents are not interested in doing that. Parents are interested in saying, you should search for real relationships. And then when you see they're trying to find people on things like Adult Friend Finder or something like that. They're scrolling. What's the name of the thing? Starts with a B. I forgot it. But they're scrolling for people the same way as you are. And let's not even talk about the adult content, because nobody wants to know about that. But the thing is that there are a lot of conservative families that say that you should have a close inner circle of people who share the same beliefs, and you should not be talking to strangers, because talking to strangers is a bad thing. I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to say, no, it's not. Idiot, no, it's not. Sorry for saying that. You're not an idiot because you think that, you want to protect your kids or whatever, but like, can't you see that there's a real possibility for them to meet someone who could change their lives for the better, just because they're different, just because they offer something that most people do not, just because they're interested in talking to whoever it is that you're worried about, and other people are just like making jokes, trolling, and taking advantage and all sorts of things. And then there's this one person that wants to have a conversation with you. Do you know how rare it is to hear somebody say, how are you? Speaking as a linguist, if you take all of the interaction history of all people using a specific app and search for the occurrence of the phrase, how are you? Do you realize that this is gonna be like low percentages? People don't say, how are you anymore? They can say, yo, what's up? What's going on? But not, how are you? And if you don't observe these changes in language, you're not going to make good pedagogical materials. You're not going to be able to guide your kids, and let alone run a school with original pedagogical content. I'm not advertising for my own course, but you're not going to be able to do these things because you don't understand what's happening. What is happening? What is happening is that dating apps have prevalence, but dating apps have a little detail, which is they want you to scroll on the apps. They want you to spend time on the app so that they can show this to their investors and say, look, people are using it a lot. And then people put more money on the platform, and then more possibilities come up. But how are people going to make money out of this? Because it's addictive, and then people pay for the premiums. The same thing happens on Spotify. Spotify has some shitty advertising practices. And what do? People pay for the premium. They pay a ridiculous amount of money for the artists, and they make money from the music industry that takes a huge margin of the artist's profits. So when they put the music on the platform, part of that goes to the industry, and also with the advertisements for the artists that they are promoting for whatever reason it is. The messages they want, the messages they want to advertise the music industry. And then Spotify as a tech company says, okay, the money goes here. That's what they do. You don't see Spotify sponsoring a music event. That doesn't happen. Why? Because they're the tech. They're not worried about the culture. They're worried about the operations and the finance. They're not worried about the culture. So there's a lot of things that need to be said. And when it comes to education, it's not, people don't have the time to edit videos. For example, if you just look at TikTok, people don't have the time to make decent TikTok, a decent TikTok with a lot of smart edits and, funny passages and things like that. Informational content on TikTok is not something that is like hugely popular. It's the funny things and the provocative things. TikTok is an app for distraction, not for information. If you want an app for information, go to freaking Twitter. But then don't forget to get the hell out of there before you go insane. That's what I'm saying. All of these tech companies need to see the value of community participation, individuals bonding, individuals who find each other and who stay connected, not search for another offer and are frenetically searching for new people so they can talk to the maximum of people every day. And in the end, you have 1,000 followers, 1,000 people you're following, 2 people, 2,000 people, 3,000 people, and you can't keep up with anything. Like I said, the phone battery dies. The phone battery dies. And nobody, ask anyone, nobody likes the Instagram experience on desktop. So unless you make phones that last 5 consecutive days, you're not going to have a sustainable model. And the sustainable model is make people find people who they can have active conversations with and meaningful relationships. Why am I saying that? Because I'm tired of the relationships I have because they're not meaningful. That's the message for today. Take care of yourselves and go to Twitter, get informed. Get out of Instagram. Instagram is damages your mental health. Didn't you listen to Frances Haugen?